So, quickly reviewing some of the facts up to this point on the Book of Mormon and DNA issue here, LDS.org. We see the statements. The Book of Mormon provides little direct information about cultural contact between the people it describes and others who may have lived here. So that's why, consequently, most early Latter-day Saints assumed that Near Easterners or Western Asians like Jared, Lehi, Mulek, and their companions were the first or largest or even the only groups to settle the Americas. Okay, yeah, that's right. The Book of Mormon doesn't. So because the Book of Mormon doesn't mention other people, we just assume that that's the case. That's the reason why we think that these people were the largest groups or exclusive here. That's what they're stating is the reason. Not that God states so to them. So we'll look at the Book of Mormon. A couple more sentences here. So building upon this assumption, critics insist that the Book of Mormon doesn't allow for the presence of other large populations in the Americas. So in other words, we should be able to find the DNA. It shouldn't get lost in some massive populations of Siberians that came thousands of years before Adam existed or left the garden. It goes on to say, the Book of Mormon itself, however, does not claim that the peoples it describes were either the predominant or the exclusive inhabitants of the lands they occupied. Okay, then God tries to hint that there's some other possibility. Let's look at the Book of Mormon now. Just quickly here, 2 Nephi chapter 1. Okay, starting at verse 5 here, skipping through. But he said, notwithstanding our afflictions, we have obtained a land of promise, a land which is choice above all other lands, which the Lord God hath covenanted with me shall be a land for the inheritance of my seed, my children forever. And there shall be none come into this land, save they shall be brought by the hand of the Lord. So the Lord brought the slaves, the white slaves and the black slaves. He brought them here by slavery, and half of them died before they became liberated, the white ones, and most of the black ones. Okay, so that's how the Lord brings people here. Wherefore this land's consecrated unto whom he shall bring, and of course they need to keep the commandments. Then they'll never be brought down into captivity. And behold, it is wisdom that this land should be kept as yet from the knowledge of other nations. For behold, many nations would overrun the land, that there would be no place for an inheritance. Wherefore I have obtained a promise, that inasmuch as people keep the commandments, they'll have it to themselves, and they shall be kept from all other nations, that they may possess the land unto themselves. There shall be none to molest them, or to take away the land of their inheritance, and they shall dwell safely forever. So, the Book of Mormon says that they may possess the list land unto themselves, that it was the promised land unto them. The essay says, the Book of Mormon itself, however, does not claim that the people it describes were either the predominant or the exclusive inhabitants of the lands they occupied. Thus, the essays completely contradict everything we just read in the Book of Mormon. The essays also suggest that these Lamanites were mixing in with an existing population, which the Book of Mormon said was not the case. The essays act like they were a tiny population and got lost in the group. Let's see what the Book of Mormon said. Also, Book of Mormon, Helaman chapter 3, regarding the limited geography ideas pushed forth now to try to cover for the fact they can't find any evidence of any of these people anywhere, whether it's artifacts or DNA. Many Nephites migrate to the land northward. They build houses of cement and keep records. Tens of thousands are converted and baptized. Okay, this talks about them many who departed out of the land of Zarahemla and went unto the land northward to inherit the land. They did travel an exceedingly great distance, insomuch that it came to large bodies of water and many rivers. Does that sound like limited geography? And even they did spread forth into all parts of the land, into whatsoever parts it had not been rendered desolate and without timber, because of the many inhabitants who had before inherited the land. Talking about the Jaredites. And now no part of the land was desolate, save it were for timber, but because of the greatness of the destruction of the people who had before inherited the land, it was desolate. Affirming again that it was the Jaredites that had the civil war and killed 2 million people in one battle. And there, being but little timber upon the face of the land, they became expert in working cement, etc., and built houses of cement and wood. And it came to pass that they did multiply and spread, and did go forth from the land southward to the land northward, and did spread insomuch that they began to cover the face of the whole earth, from the sea south to the sea north, and the sea west to the sea east. And the people who were in the land northward did dwell in tents. Sounds like the Indians. And in houses of cement. And they did suffer whatsoever tree should spring up on the land, it let it grow. And they built temples and synagogues and sanctuaries of all manner, many buildings. It came to pass that timber was exceedingly scarce in the land northward, so they did send forth by the way of shipping. They're sending by shipping from South America to the land northward. And thus they did enable the people of the land northward, that they might build many cities, both of wood and cement. Okay. Does that sound like limited geography to you? It doesn't to me. More tidbits here. And now there were many records kept of the proceedings of this people by many of this people, which are particular and very large concerning them. But 100th part of the proceedings of this people, yea, the account of the Lamanites and the Nephites and their wars and contentions and dissensions and preachings and prophecies and shipping and building of ships and their building of temples and of synagogues and of sanctuaries and their righteousness and wickedness and all this other stuff. It's just cannot be contained in this work. But behold, there are many books and many records of every kind, and they have been kept chiefly by the Nephites. They've been handed down from one generation to another by the Nephites, even until they have fallen to transgression, have been murdered and plundered, and hunted and driven forth and slain and scattered upon all the face of the earth, and mixed with the Lamanites, until they are no more called Nephites, becoming wicked and wild and ferocious, yea, becoming Lamanites. Okay. But nobody's ever found any of these, and nobody's ever found any records here written in Egyptian on metal plates and that describe any of this, or any of their coins, or any of their elephants or horses or honeybees or steel swords or steel other things. But we'll move on. So, Elder Jeffrey Holland, now a member of the Quorum of the 12 for quite some time, the quorum that now rejects the Book of Mormon claims that the people were alone in the land, and it says the Book of Mormon doesn't say that or anything like it, and we just read that it does. Well, Jeffrey authored this article for the Ensign, as we can see here, in June of '76, and he seems to believe in the Book of Mormon back then. Let's take a look at it. Rarely we call it America, but it began with a single primeval continent of Genesis, and the miracle of millennial healing will be brought again. So, through here, Jeffrey Holland, now one of the 12, and then like the god of BYU, knew his stuff, and goes over the history of America. So he tells us the Garden of Eden was there, and I believe it was in Jackson County, Missouri. And then he goes on to tell us that after Adam left, he wound up in Davies County, Missouri, now Davies County, Missouri, and Adam on Diamond. Okay, great. And he goes and tells us that people became very naughty, and so God sent in the floods to kill millions of his own children and cleanse the land from wickedness. Okay, after that, that's when he says he brought in the Jaredites and that the land was empty. This is a little review, but it says, okay, of America, such a special place needed now to be kept apart from other regions, free from the indiscriminate traveler as well as the soldier of fortune, to guarantee such sanctity to the very surface of the earth. To guarantee such sanctity, the very surface of the earth was rent. In response to God's decree, the great continents separated, and the ocean rushed in to surround them. The promised place was set apart, without habitation. It waited for the fulfillment of God's special purposes. So, he says the land was empty when the Jaredites got here, that Noah's flood cleansed it, and all those people that they're now saying were here that Lamanites and Nephites mixed with, says they weren't here. With care and selectivity, the Lord began almost immediately, at once, to repeople the promised land. As I says, he brought in the Jaredites, came first, with stories of the great flood fresh in their minds, etc. Okay, and then, like I said, it goes to through their destruction, and the Nephites, and then their destruction by the Lamanites, and then Columbus coming over and finding it, being guided by the Holy Spirit, and that the Gentiles came in, and that these wonderful pilgrims were protected because they came to build a Christian nation, and that George Washington didn't even realize what a wonderful thing was being doing. Neither Washington nor Thomas Paine knew, however, the full import of their work at this time. Indeed, it was the beginning. At the beginning, anyway, Puritans, Pilgrims, gospel is restored because the Constitution allows it on this promised land of destiny. The work of Pilgrims and Puritans, patriots and politicians, had been to prepare the way for prophets of the living God. Okay. So, with the Constitutional Convention guided by God, essentially, the freedoms of conscience, speech, and press and worship had been guaranteed by the historic Bill of Rights. The prophet Joseph Smith was born in clear, graceful Vermont, of Ethan Allen, home of Ethan Allen and the Mountain Boys. As Elder Paul H. Dunn recently declared to the church-wide audience, Joseph grew up toward adolescence just like the new land. He fitted in. He was young, clean, unspoiled, a lad without a past, kneeling in a grove. This pristine land, this innocent young man, and thus the Lord reached out and kept his promise. He established his conditions over centuries. You see, God has time. His plan made it possible for the holy priesthood and the church to be restored upon the earth. The restoration of the gospel of Jesus Christ, but only in America. So that was a great talk by Paul H. Dunn. Unfortunately, like all of his talks that he was so famous for, his faith-promoting war stories where he had his helmet and boots and belt shot up by machine guns and survived, and all his pro baseball stories that sold him all those books and tapes and made him lots of money, like his real estate scandal. Well, they were all lies too. So he's an emeritus general authority. Now, Jeffrey Holland's part of the 12 that denies all these things that we just read in his own talk and here in the Book of Mormon, which fortunately we can find, unlike the Nephite records that they wrote about that never surfaced. We've got these things to reference against the ever-changing doctrine. Ironically, the ever-eloquent Paul H. Dunn lauds the freedom of the press, which destroyed both he and Joseph Smith, that clean, young, innocent man without a past, whose spiritual wife system was exposed by the press, He destroyed the press illegally and wound up in Carthage.